Hey, it's Paul Banis of GreatDad.com, and I'm here on my new added weekly bonus episodes on resilience, how to get it, how to model it for your kids, maybe a little bit of even how to develop it in your kids. And I have a conversation today that I kind of want to talk about for a long time because I get a lot of pitches from people who are mindset coaches and fitness coaches, but I've got a guest today who can talk about the intersection of the two. So welcome, Chris Malgieri, who's both a fitness coach and a mindset coach.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate being here.
Yeah, so I guess the first question is, since you work with guys, you're obviously in great shape yourself. You work with guys on fitness training, and then there's this mindset thing. So you've been trained as a coach, you do coaching at the same time. So what do you see as the intersection of those two things, why they kind of fit together?
Well, at one time we might have thought of like a mental game as something that a high-level athlete or maybe a high-level CEO had, but it wasn't a skill that everybody needed to develop, right? Now we know better, right? And if you can develop a physical skill, you can develop a mental skill, you can develop emotional skills. These are all things that you have under your control. And with minute changes on a daily basis, we can get somewhere in all of those things. Now, you are one thing, right? You are one person in one body. Your mind is not separate from your workout, your physicality, right? You know, if you get up on a bad day and you say, oh, man, I don't want to go there. But if you do that little push through, you get into the gym, your body feels better, you feel confident, you feel good about yourself, right? So that intersection of mind body is sometimes your mind's got to convince your body to get out of bed, right? That's not always easy, but those are trained responses. We train ourselves to snuggle in bed. We train ourselves to zoom, the snooze button. That is the death knell of a day, of an effective day. Snooze is bad, right? Stop snoozing.
Especially after an hour.
Yes, after an hour. Or either take, I think it's like 90-minute cycles that we sleep in. Yeah. Either do the 90 minutes and then get up.
Yeah.
Or just get up. This 5-minute nonsense of hitting the no.
Yeah, I've heard that the research shows that's actually worse for your.
It's very. Yeah, we know intuitively. Yeah. You know, you take that 10 minutes and you got to drag out of bed, and at 6 a cup of coffee, and no, this is not. It's not functionally, and also it's not sustainable, right? Well, what we want to look at is sustainable changes that go in the direction of what we want to develop as. Are we developing our physique, our athleticism, so that when you're 50, 60, 70, you're running around with your kids, grandkids, and you're not, breaking an ankle just going down the stairs, right? Are you developing your mind so you're continuously learning and growing so you are interesting enough to be around when you're 60, 70, 80, and you haven't fallen off a cliff intellectually or emotionally, right? Are you connected with your partner? Are you making certain 2-minute, 3-minute, 5-minute trainings a day that are going to change cumulatively because you have habituated them, and you feel that sense of, hey, today I took that little step. Might not have been a big one, but I took it. And then the next day and the next day. And in weeks and months, I'm not even talking years, but weeks and months, we have concrete changes, right? We don't need to, as we said earlier, we don't need to jump to the 3-hour marathons running a day or the Navy SEAL warrior training. And don't get me wrong, if that's your thing, by all means, have at it, right? Like, I'm competitive in jujitsu. I'm 52 now. I'm still fighting. Like, I'm doing some weird stuff too. Okay, so I get it, but that's not everybody. I do that, but I also homeschool 4 kids, right? So I want them to see what's possible, and the only way for them to see what's possible is to see me do it, right? Yeah. Because just with all the positives that they might model, they're going to see what I don't want them to see too, if we're not careful.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So that's why, for example, for my kids, when it's time for lunch, we line them up. We get our healthy food out. What do you want? One wants something maybe not so good. I just let them watch, right? Yeah. And let's do it together. Invest that 15 minutes to make lunch together, and then they're going to live with that and grow with that for the rest of their lives.
Well, I definitely do believe in that whole modeling thing for the kids. I think this is interesting that we are now, there is a lot more research about how this mind-body connection, and that the yes. body never lies. A lot of the trauma is stored in the body. Anxiety has an effect on body and health and longevity and depression, all the rest of it. So you really can't ignore that intersection. No, but I appreciate the fact that for those of us who are maybe not as naturally athletic, or didn't start with an athletic beginning, that you can start with small steps. And like you say, I mean, quite often for me, it's like, I don't want to do it, but the minute when I get down, I
Yes,
start
yes.
the push-up routine, then I don't stop the push-up routine. I got to push through and do the whole thing. So we're really talking about resilience today. Maybe there's something in the physical fitness part that is related to the resilience. I guess I'm trying to steer away or trying to question the idea that resilience is about toughness, because I think quite often people think, oh, I've got to be a tough person. I got to put up a shield. I've got to ward off all the bad stuff in my day. That's what resilience is. But I don't think that's what it is. What do you think?
I okay, I'll frame it like this. If I have 10 people, it's going to define 10 different ways, right?
Okay.
But if you are in the 1% that's into that kind of hardcore, push through Spartan race kind of stuff, that's okay. That's your measure. But I think as a human, being, resilience is persistence. It's the ability to keep doing the good, wholesome developmental tasks every day. And even if they're small, right? I look at it as resilience as persistence and the willingness to do it when you maybe don't want to, right? So I don't think that resilience is about being tough or not being tough. I think it's about being committed to your growth, being committed to nurturing yourself, nurturing your partners, nurturing your family, because some days we just don't feel tough, right? And the fake it that's fine. But I think it's easier to commit to action when you're trying to get somewhere and nurture all sides of your being, right? Sometimes we think of resilience as it's all physical too, right? One of the challenging things to get people to do on the daily is just sit for 5 minutes and do some breath work or meditate, right? People will give that up. To me, that is a lack of commitment to some developmental process that you're engaging in. So when I look at resilience, I don't want people think like, hey, I've got to be an alpha or I've got to, no, you just got to be committed to being you, figuring out what that is. What steps will you commit to on the daily basis that are going to move you in the direction that you want to go?
Yeah.
And that's why, sometimes too much social media, it drifts off and everybody's buff and tough. And yeah, that's cool for that group of people, right? But what if you're not that, right? Resilience is I'm going to get up every day and I'm going to walk a quarter mile this week and I'm going to walk a half a mile next week and I'm going to build, right? To me, that is, especially depending on where you're starting from. Maybe you have an injury, maybe you're not in the greatest shape. Walking is, in my estimation, the primary mover for sustained exercise, right? Because if you get strong at walking, you can do the rest of your life, right? You're good. You have a practice that you can commit to, you can be strong about. You can always challenge, walk another block, right? And then go back. That's not so bad. I'm not saying you have to Forrest Gump and run across the country, but you get the idea, right?
Yeah.
And that is how we can all get better one step at a time, right? Sometimes when people make these big, like everybody has got the joke about New Year's, right? New Year's resolutions. They jump in the gym and the next week the gym's empty, right? Of course they do. But sometimes instead of taking that big jump, all it does is jump us off a cliff, right? All we need is to take a step. We don't need to take a jump every day.
So what I'm hearing in that, well, I may have heard it early on when you were talking, is the idea that resilience is an active process. It's not a passive process. You don't
Yes,
you
sir.
aren't just resilient. You have to, even the people who seem like they're naturally resilient are always working at that resilience. Is that what you're
Yes.
thinking?
I agree, right? I don't like exercise to me is a verb, it's not a noun, right? It's something that you have to go out and do. Resilience is something that you have to cultivate and practice in what you do, right? Should you choose that as a direction for your life, right? I think because people think you have to be mentally already there or physically strong, they're not getting off the couch, right? Because maybe they learned about how impressive a transformation somebody like David Goggins has, but they don't think they can do it because it's too extreme, where all they really need to do is get up and walk for 10 minutes a day and then turn that into 12, 15, and pretty soon their life has improved, right? That's why I think the social media kind of that presentation, and in before social media, it was all over everywhere. Let's be honest. People have been selling us a bill of goods for a long time, right? But it's daily, consistent practice.
But so do you think that, why do you think, or do you think that some people are born seemingly like with more resilience, with more mental toughness, more mental fitness, and other people have to really strive and get in that mode? Do you think is it nature, nurture, maybe a combination of the two?
Absolutely. I think it's a combination of the two. My wife was a psychologist, right? We talk about this kind of stuff all the time. And you can see it in my kids, right? You can see it in
Yeah.
me. I chose to go into martial arts heavily because of my extreme insecurity in being able to defend myself. And I wasn't sure. I'm not naturally an aggressive person, but I didn't know if I could handle aggression. If somebody stepped up and said, "Hey, I'm going to get in your face," what am I going to do about it? Right. I think that it's a little easier for people to be focused and disciplined in areas that they enjoy. But then the resilience factor of doing what you want to do, whether you like it or not, sort of fades away because you're having a blast, right? Yes, there are seemingly people that have that. But I think by and large, even if that's true, and person A is, let's give it a horrible example, but they're only 10% resilient by nature, that's 10% I can build on, right? I can work with wherever you are. The scary part is when you get like wildly talented people naturally, but they have no discipline, they have no structure, they lack that mental fortitude because they can just have good results seemingly out of nowhere. They don't apply themselves. Right. So when you see the combination of the Michael Jordan story, a talented guy, but work ethic like mad, that's what we see, but we don't see the time in. Yeah. Right. We don't see the before and after the game, how many shots were being made.
Yeah,
right?
well, that's the ideal combination, is having that natural ability and then add on the discipline part. Then you've got a magic combo rather than somebody like me who's got no ability. I got to compensate first of all because I just don't start with that. So I think, do you have a story of somebody you've worked with who did start out at 10% and you turned them into somebody who you consider resilient and strong and dedicated, motivated?
Sure. I mean, I think that in my personal case, I was able to push through certain areas that I didn't like, right? Because I had to get a bit of an emotional, reset early in life. And hey, you're being an idiot. You have to get online. And that helped me organize for other people. I've had some students, I've had kind of that both sides where I had an incredibly gifted student come in, but right out of high school, a little bit lazy in school, graduated, great football player, great athlete, but it's not that he wasn't smart, but he didn't care, right? And he wasn't taught how to care about things. Got into the mixed martial arts and jujitsu and stuff, what we're doing, but it took him getting a little bit of a shellacking, as we say, right? He had to get, kind of beat up a little bit before he kind of got in the mind of, wait, yeah, I'm good in this group of people, but if I want to get to this group of people, I got to start to work, right? I've got to start to put the commitment in. I've got to have that mental focus. And in this case, I shouldn't go to the house parties. I shouldn't, if I'm going to go with my friends, I'm going to go out. I shouldn't be the one drinking. I should be the designated driver. I've got to make some choices on how I'm going to do that, right? Yeah. I think probably one of my favorite ones is one of my students. He was training with me a long time, became kind of an assistant trainer at the gym, doing a great job, but he was very much happy where he wasn't branching out, which is not a problem, right? You want to teach him, do whatever. And he had the opportunity to travel abroad, and he was able to get a job. And now he works and he trains people, and he lives in Dubai, right? Trains people. He's doing very well. But that took a lot of cultivation and training to get his confidence where he felt like, hey, I'm going to move. I haven't left the country before. Right. Now I'm going to get a visa. I'm going to go over there. I'm going to start a new life. I'm going to grow. Now he's part of MMA organizations over there, and he's training people. So we have to work on that self-confidence, that self-efficacy, and I'm going to be far away from home. How do I keep driving? How do I keep driving forwards? And when I don't know anybody there, right? Basically, I get up, I go. And obviously the physical training and all that kind of stuff, because when you're training hard and you've got somebody that, okay, we did 15, 20 reps of something, and we're going to do 5 more just to really show you that you can. Because I think that's really where the training comes in physically, is if I can make you do 5 more kicks, 5 more push-ups, walk 2 more blocks than you thought you could, that's going to start to seep into your consciousness. You're going to think, hey, I'm capable more than I thought I was. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And those kind of things are really nice.
So maybe switching, maybe there's something in there that is the kind of the challenge or the tip or the shift we could communicate to dads thinking about how to become more resilient? Where would you start if you had somebody who's just like thinking, wow, I'd like to be, more confident at work or at home,
Sure.
or more able to kind of let the daily challenges roll off my back? Where would you start?
First, I would say figure out, and even if you're in the process of figuring something out, what can you do for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, a half an hour a day that you can commit to, that challenge yourself physically? Because with the physical challenges, it's more in our face, right?
Yep.
I have X amount of push-ups to do. I did 2 more. Yay for me, right? I get to that. That's so in our face. It's so obvious, right? If you're maybe not in shape, commit to walking, commit to doing something consistently. Get a plan, get a habit. You can't swing a stick without getting an app or a coach. You can find somebody to help you on that path, right?
Right.
And then really at the end of the day, look at the wins, okay? Acknowledge them, right? For what they are. I had a win, but look at the losses and learn from them, right? What could I have done to maybe make this happen today, right? And a little bit better or a little easier, and then do it again, and then do it again. So it's the small daily habituations that transform us in a relatively small amount of time, right? The things that I usually start with are something physical, right? Do something. I don't care what it is. You talk to me, you talk to another trainer, you walk.
Yeah.
At least walk for nothing else, right? Change your hydration, right? Because I think most people are dehydrated, and how that affects your brain is pretty horrible, right? And we have plans for that, and you can get apps, right? Drink water now. You got to listen to the app, you got to follow it, because most people ignore the notifications, right? So something physical, change your hydration, and then spend 3 minutes by yourself, just being, just relax, feel your body, whether you want to involve breath work or prayer, meditation. Find something that will, whatever works for you, doesn't matter, right? One of the phrases that hit me hard when I was in college was, most people can't sit alone in a room by themselves for 5 minutes without freaking out.
Yeah.
Just sit there and exist in their own space, right? Because their mind's constantly going.
Than it used to be. I mean, you used to stand in line at the bank and you didn't have a phone in your pocket and you just stood there. We don't have any more times like that in the day without a device or something else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's now a habit, right? Because I see my kids, and my wife has an appointment, we're waiting in the car, and it's a few minutes and I'm bored, right?
Yeah.
And and perhaps this resonates with other fathers, as boredom is a lack of imagination, right? That's what I was always told. If you're bored because of whatever, you just don't have enough creativity going on. That's what we need to work on, right? Yeah, I get it. Read a book, go for a walk. I mean, my youth was outside, right? I'm sure many people are like that. Like, I was outside with my friends. We were running through the fort. We were playing. I mean, we were outside kids. That's less now, right? And by design or default, that's pretty terrible. But don't be, if you don't want that result, you don't want that, what that means at the end, stop doing it, right? You don't need to be staring at the thing all the time.
And that goes with for your kids too, is giving them the opportunities to do things that are off the devices, like taking them to the park and not having the phone, or using the phone only to take photographs, but not to be distracted. I guess that's part of being a good father, is modeling and getting the kids involved in things that pull them away from those types of bad habits. So how about the fact that I think a lot of people who have busy lives, even if they are super motivated, they have days where they drop off. And I know I wrestle with this myself, is I try to take a bike ride every day. I every other day, push-ups routine and stretching and stuff. But then I'll like miss a day, or we'll go away for a vacation or a weekend, and I'll get out of it, and then I feel like, oh, now I'm I feel bad. I feel disappointed in myself that I wasn't able to
absolutely.
Now I've lost the train, like the classic, put an X in every day. Now I've missed an X on my days, and like, why start over again? So what do you say to people like that who are like struggling with that interrupted motivation?
Sure. What I would say is this: analyze the why that happened, right? Was it under your control, or were you lazy? Okay. If you were lazy, give yourself a mental whack and then move on, right? Acknowledge it, figure out the solution, and move on. Don't sit in it. Right? Oh man, I missed the workout, right? The other thing I love because in my previous life, right before marriage and kids, I lived at my gym. I had daytime classes, morning classes. I went to sleep. I got up, I trained my afternoon kids classes and adult classes. Got my foot, and I went to sleep. Right, my routine was training and sleeping. Right, that's not my life anymore. I homeschool 4 kids. Right, I'm busy. My wife and I are always busy doing stuff. Micro workouts are phenomenal. Right, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. They're all over YouTube, right? Whatever your progression is. Hey, I didn't get a chance to do my push-up routine today. All right, do a micro one, right? Do 3 sets of 15 push-ups. 5 minutes, maybe, whatever your thing is, doesn't matter, right? Now, what I like is I have my little finger extensors. I have stuff all over the place. So I'm constantly doing micro workouts, because for me to commit outside of the classes I teach at night, for me to commit to 30 minutes at a time, 40 an hour, it's challenging.
Yeah.
Right. I either have to get up really early, right? Which I can, and I do, or I have to take time away from other things. Right. But you can do I don't have it here, but the crusher device you have, you do 2 sets of 30 reps. That's done for the day. You do your finger extensions because your hand and your grip and your forearm are so vital to everything. Right. What I'll tell a lot of people, if you sit a lot, there's a book by Bob Anderson called Stretching. I know it's a very alluring title, right? Stretching. He's got like 4 and 5 and 6 minute routines for all kinds of walks of life. And one of them is, what routine do you do if you sit all day? Right. So maybe twice during the day, you take 5 minutes and you do his chair routine. Right. Sure. Your body feels good. You'll be more productive. You're better. Right. I like it, very popular, and I like it because it's simple. Is box breathing, right? You maybe inhale, hold, exhale, hold, right? That kind of thing. Super simple. There's 10,000 YouTube videos with drawing the little box to help you visualize. Sure. You do that for 3 minutes twice a day, right? Spread them out during the day. So if you were to aggregate them all, maybe you got an hour working out today. It adds up fast. Yeah. Right. It's really neat. Yeah. Right. You never even we got one of those little pedal things under the desk. Right. You don't need a half an hour. Yeah. Right. 5 minutes. I mean, that's fun stuff. Yeah. All right. Well, this has been really good. I appreciate how forgiving you are for, the people who are maybe struggling with this. And I know I hear those saboteur voices in my head all the time. So I think that's a key part of it, is not beating yourself up, not saying, oh, I'm just get back to it. Like I'm lazy or whatever. Don't let those voices hijack you and then prevent you from doing the thing that you're committed to doing. Mm-hmm. That's so important. So people can find more of your tips, and if they want to work with you, they can find you at synergycenter.net. Correct. Yep. And then I'm on the social Instagram, Facebook, the official Coach Chris. That's fine too. Really, if anybody's interested, I'm a resource. There are so many resources. Just find something that you'll commit to and be willing to change as you change. Right? You're not stuck in one thing forever. So figure out and enjoy what you're doing. Right? That's the most important, because you're going to keep doing it. Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay, Paul Banks with GreatDad.com. You can find me at GreatDad.com/go for any of my services. I'm always open to talk about fatherhood and everything related to resilience, and you can schedule time for me at that page. So until next time, every other time is a resilience and a longer talk with a dad. But I really appreciate you, Chris, coming on and talking about this. This is really at the core of kind of my pleasure. What I'm thinking is important for dads, not only for themselves, for their own well-being, their own physical well-being, but also to model to their kids. Okay, until next time, bye. Take care, sir.